SEC play, how does the mindset kind of shift when you go into a league that's obviously so tough week in, week out? You know, how do you feel a mindset kind of shift?
I think we kind of just keep the same mindset, but we also realize that the SEC is a tough, tough conference. You know, you got really good players and you got really good coaching staffs all the way around. You know, so I think we've done a really good job over the non-conference schedule of handling the details and just doing our job. So I continue, we're continuing to do the exact same thing going to SEC play. You know, we know we're going to play some good players. We know we're going to play a really good team. So just like South Carolina this week. So it's just about doing our job and making sure that we just tone on the details going to this week.
Jalen Drinkwood said early on in the year that he wanted you all to establish an identity quickly. Through 3 games, what are some, markers of that identity that you've seen so far?
I would say just the brotherhood, just how we play ball and also how we kind of love on each other. You know, we make plays, we're excited. You know, whether you're a 1, 2, or 3, it doesn't matter. We want everybody to go out there and do their jobs. And when someone does a job, we want to make sure that we're the first ones there to make sure they do it. Feel the love from us. It's all about showing the love to everybody. I think this game, it can go up and down. So when somebody makes a great play, it's about being there and showing love.
Jalen, with Nick Cartwright, wide receiver for South Carolina, just what challenges does he present?
Big body. Great. Great physique. And also he can make things happen at any point, whether it's on the screen pass or whether it's deep downfield or with showing his speed. One of the fastest guys. Probably in college football. So. We'll have a great plan set up, but it's about executing and knowing where he's at and just making sure that we have eyes on him. But at the end of the day, we're going to execute the plan that Coach Platoon has for us.
Jalen, how does your week change? How does film study change when you may not be sure which quarterback you're playing?
I think you kind of just focus on the scheme, focus on what they try to do and where they try to put people at when they try to, do this or do that. So I think it's honestly just kind of breaking down the film and realizing where they're trying to attack. Because I think, both quarterbacks present really good, movement outside the pocket, making things happen. So I think it's all about just making sure that we kind of contain and make sure, we just tone in our defense and on the details and just make sure everybody on the field does their job.
Jalen, what's the challenge for safety specifically going up against these mobile quarterbacks?
I think it's just latching onto your man when it's man, or when you're in coverage. It's just making sure your guy is, knowing that these guys can extend plays, and making sure that we're doing our job at the back end. The guys that are rushing are going to make their thing, do their thing, hopefully. But at the same time, we know we're playing some good players. But like I said, I trust in our box and I trust in our D line. They're going to do their job, and then it's our job to do, our job as well in the back end.
Jalen, what separates Lenore Sellers from just your average quarterback?
I would say just his playmaking ability in the pocket. He can do it with his legs. He can do it with his arms. He can move around the pocket. And I think he's a leader. You can tell he's a Swiss Army knife. He's the one that makes things go. So it's all about making sure we contain him as best we can. We know he's going to make some plays. But at the same time, it's all about just doing our jobs and just contain everybody, because there's playmakers all over that field. But we have playmakers too. So we're just ready to put the ball down and, just do our jobs and just go play some football.
Jalen, kind of speaking of that, those playmakers, there was a stat that surfaced yesterday. Damon Wilson has as many pressures through 3 weeks as Georgia does as a team. What has Damon Wilson meant to you guys so far, and what have you liked from his play?
Yeah, he's a monster, and he brings it every day in practice with his motor and kind of how he goes about his business. So I respect that about him. But he's one of the best pass rushers in the SEC, if not in the country. So I expect great things from him going forward as we play into our SEC play. But like I said, I've been proud of him of his progression from spring ball to fall camp to now. And like I said, he's a monster.
On a similar note, Josiah Trotter leads your team in tackles for loss so far. What have you seen out of him at the second level?
I'm sorry, you said that.
Josiah Trotter
yeah.
leads the team in tackles for loss. What have you seen out of him at the second level that you really liked?
Instinctual player. He's gonna make things happen. He studies the game really well. Make sure that everybody's where they need to be. And I think when he sees it, he goes, and that's what I love about him. When he sees something, he's not afraid to go try to make a play. I think he wants to make a play every single time. And when you have a linebacker like that, that's not afraid to go sideline, or go vertical. It's dangerous. So I've seen great things from him so far, and I know he's gonna do great things moving forward.
Jalen, going into conference play, there's already a ton of guys on this team who had the SEC experience. You bring in guys like you and Damon who have SEC experience as well. How important is that just to open the conference play?
It's very important because I think when you have people like me that's been in this thing for a while, especially playing the SEC, you have someone like Damon who's played at a great program like Georgia and has seen great players come through and great ball. I think it's very important to have those guys to kind of just keep the structure together because like we did against Kansas, you know, we faced adversity. So, you know, it's about how we're going to, you know, go about it. And it's the same thing in the SEC. We're going to face adversity, you know, whether it's going to be this week, next week, or down the road. So it's all about what leadership and what guys like me, Damon, guys like Jalen Catalon, guys like Chris McClellan who came from Florida, you know, over here. So people that play in the SEC, you know, play this type of caliber ball. It's all about keeping the team together and making sure that leadership shines when it's time.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jalen.
Thank you.